that reflects me. It reflects me. I just realized everybody loves me, and I love everybody, and it's such a wonderful thing to have people who are willing to join with you and be your friends, and also be your teacher, your mentor, bring you to new understandings of things. It's such a joyful thing, and that's why the way that we operate is that uh, nobody knows any more than anybody else, and I think it works out pretty good for us. And in fact, I learn something from everybody all the time. Um, so anyway, good morning, everybody. I expected to see Regis. Let me see.
He was here for a moment and playing music, and then he disappeared.
Oh, okay. So that was him playing the music. That was the stranger playing the music. It was, I wondered. I'm like, that's fun. All right. I just put on the microphone in Pal Talk. So if he's there, or if anybody's in Pal Talk, they want to come in, they can. So anyway, um, this idea for this group, and some of you know about Mandi, and we pretty much have a history with her for a while, kind of off and on, intersecting in various ways. But the way that we intersected this time was that Dove was looking on Facebook, and I guess you have a new profile on Facebook too, and was looking on Facebook and saw, you might know this person. I'm guessing that's what it was, one of those you might know this person thing. And it was Mandi. And so he connected with her and they started chatting. And then she told him about this book. Well, when I had last spoken with her, she had written what is the name of your other book? The Freedom of No Self, or
The Joy of No Self.
The Joy of No Self.
Yeah.
Which is really, gosh, it's been a while. Amazing, amazing. And I could ask Mandi to tell us a little bit of her story, but having known her for a while and had many conversations with her, I just recognize you as a completely soulmate. I mean, we're like so much the same. And yet so beautifully different. So I love it. And so since you're here, Mandi, and maybe you could just tell us a little bit about you, because I haven't heard since, gosh, the last bunch of Mandi stories I heard. Not from Buddha at the gas pump, from maybe Consciousness TV, things that I've seen. I've heard a lot of Mandi stories, but I think you'd be the great one to tell us who you are and why are you crossing yourself there, Joni?
My bangs are in my eyes.
I thought you were
so funny. When I first ever came to America and I wanted to we call it a fringe, you see. So I went to a hairdresser in America, and I'd only come to America for the first time. And she said, so you want your bangs doing? And we're at cross purposes for ages. I just didn't understand, and she didn't touch them either. So I didn't know what what bangs were. We got there in the end, but I love that expression. Yeah.
Sorry. Mandi, it's poor woman's Botox. Did you ever hear that sign? It covers.
That's funny.
Yeah. That works too.
Yeah. And yes, well, I always find it really difficult to. I think that I don't see myself as a teacher. I just see myself as a random sharer from time to time, you know, just when things come up. Yeah, because what it was so I wrote the joy, well, like everybody here, I became a seeker at a young age, but for me, I went through the path of first of all just, you know, Christianity, and then I got into Buddhism and Taoism, and you know, spent years, you know, in these things. I mean, I didn't just sort of randomly go. I did spend sort of some time in these things. And then I was a Christian Scientist for many, many years, probably the bulk of it. But then I walked away from that because well, I suppose, you know, I've said this to Dave, you know, David, is that sometimes people become quoters, and they quote a lot, and so because they were so married to the work of Mrs. Eddy, which is great, it's absolutely great. I'm in awe of Mrs. Eddy, but it's just that when people take that along, there's a lot of sort of quoting. There was no meditation. Nobody sort of meditated. There wasn't any peace, you know, and I just felt that it lacked something that I was ready for more. And so then I came across, you know, this is years ago, Joel Goldsmith, who I absolutely adore, and particularly Herb Fitch, his successor. I love his, well, they're both the same, you know, love that kind of thing. And then I kind of was very involved in, I suppose, what they call non-duality and the teachers of non-duality. So in about 2000 or something, I started an organization. Well, it wasn't really an organization. It was called Non-Duality North, because all the teachers, the great sort of teachers like Tony Parsons and Jeff, and all these people, they all kind of were in the other part of Britain. They were in London, and that's 3 hours from me. So I thought I needed to open something in the north. Anyway, we had all these teachers coming over, and I kind of really was very into that. But then I kind of, you know, what happens is, it's not that I'm a flitter. I mean, I spent years in each of these things I've mentioned, but you expand, don't you? You know, and in the back of all this was the Course in Miracles, you know, which I'd done sort of numerous times, and really just was like my mainstay. You know, it's fantastic. But I sort of really, more than anything, I'm passionate, I suppose, about helping people to really just drop the mind, except for when necessary, you know, and it really can be done. And there's, of course, all the teachings talk about an empty mind, or not creating your identity through your thoughts, which is what we're doing all the time in every moment. But, you know, I wanted to do something that would be a bridge between knowing that, yes, we all know that, and how you actually do it without sort of enforcing practices on people. And then one day, a man came to me who was a filmmaker, and he said that somebody near where he lived told him about me, and he made these little short 4-minute films. And that's what he was well known for doing, these 4-minute films. It could be about anything, you know. And he wanted to do one on identity. And so that's why somebody sort of sent him to me. And I thought, oh my God, you know, how identity, although it's kind of, you could say it in a word, there is none. But on the other hand, of course, that would be very well, it's a bit random to say that. I thought, how can I intelligently put something together that's only going to be 4 minutes that really means something about identity? And I really sort of asked God, you know, and then I just was given, like, just tumbled like what they call a download, this poem called, which is one of the first ones in my book, called "What is Your Identity If You Are Not Your Name?" And it just kind of spilled out onto the page. And when I showed it to the filmmaker, he was thrilled because so we made a little film. That he was very clever in this little film. It's up on YouTube. It's by this guy called Harry Wheeler. It's just 4 minutes. And yeah, that's what it's called. And then what happened, you see, was that I thought, I felt that this was a great way. I'm nearly finished. Sorry, I hope I'm not going on too long. But this is just a great way to.
You are not going on too long. Go as long as you like. We have plenty of time.
Oh, I feel really humbled to be asked on here. Thank you so much. Well, I just felt this went down very well with a lot of people and me, because, who's the first person when you write a book? Who's the first person that sees it? You are. So you always write the book you need. People think that when people write books, they think they are experts on the subject. No, 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 no. Every book on spirituality, I believe, has come because the writer first needs it, like what's her name? I've forgotten her name. Marie, that wrote The Course of Love. She says, I was the first receiver, and so the first receiver is probably because they need it the most. So then I was learning from what was being given to me. And I mean, I'd always been very deeply into self-enquiry, because to me, inquiring into who you really are till you see who you really are is key. But so the book became, I just kept getting more and more of these poems that took lots of different ways of looking at identity and awareness and how we actually do it. So the first part of the book, the poems are kind of written as contemplations and meditations. And the other parts of the book have sort of come at it from different angles, where you can just read the poem. What I like people to do really is to record a poem on their phone or something that they like and listen back to it if you read it very slowly, so that you contemplate every line. In other words, so why did I call them power poems? Because they're not inactive. If you use them, they're powerful. They have a power. They are active power. It's active power poetry, rather than just, I suppose, pretty words that you think, I agree with that, but they don't do a lot. I want them to go very deep, you see. So that's it, really.
Well, and thank you for that. I love all this, Mandi. And I will look for, I'm not sure which one of I was looking on your site for the different YouTube videos, looking for that 4-minute film, and I'll find it. But that's the reason actually that I had this sudden inspiration to do this group, is because the lady who had been the teacher before on this this time had said that she's doing too much and she wanted to take some time off. So she's taking off Monday. And then I received this in the mail from Amazon. This is Mandi's book, and it's IS-ness is Your Only Business by Amanda Solk. Don't look for Mandi, because you won't. All you'll find is audiobooks and such. But Amanda Solk, IS-ness is Your Only Business. And I started reading it, and then I went to a poem, and I read the poem, and I was like, oh, I see. Oh, I see. And then I, spend some time contemplating, and the very poem that I'm talking about is the "What is your identity?" If you are not your name, and because I personally have been doing a lot of questioning of identity also, and so it really affected me, and so I thought this would be a perfect thing to do, because maybe Mandi, being as she's in the UK, might be able to attend, and we could do it in the mornings on Mondays. So I have the book on Kindle, and we can look through it as a group on Kindle, as we do with a lot of the other things that we study. And you know, what a great thing! What a great thing!
Thank you very much. I must just say thank you so much. I mean, you know, when you write these things, you really don't think anything about them. You don't think any. You don't think. You think probably people. Nobody's going to be interested. So, honestly, I'm really, really touched. Yeah, the name Amanda. That's my real name. But my other book, The Joy of No Self, that is Mandi Solk. I'm mainly known as Mandi Solk, but I just thought. Well, when I was given this book, he told the voice, whatever, told me to use the name Amanda. And I said, why are you so keen on that name? So I looked it up and it said, worthy of love. So I thought, so that must be it, you know. So I thought I'd just use it for this one book. But thank you very much. I mean, that's so lovely. If anybody's interested in the poems, it's just lovely. Thank you.
Thank
you all. Thank you all. Thank you, Lynn.
And the other thing too is I was going through some of our recordings, other recordings that I've had with you that you have on YouTube, etc. And I noticed that you mentioned a lot of other things, like you talked about Lester Levinson's work, the release technique, and Rafi. That's one of the things that he is very proficient with, and we talk about it, you know, almost every meeting, and probably every meeting that Rafi attends, and some meetings that Rafi doesn't attend, we talk about it. And it's you know, it just seems like you just touch everybody here.
Yeah, honestly, that to me is everything, you know, because again, you see, that links into not examining why you feel what you feel, but to really feel it. You know, I always say just go to where it feels, or just feel it, like Rafi's probably said, and just feel it absolutely in every cell of your being without any thoughts attached, and it runs out, and then you come back to that absolute beauty of joy. It's only the thoughts that want to question everything. Why do I feel like this? What have I got to do? What's my past got? When you psychoanalyze things, you just actually, as far as just my experience is, that you amplify negativity. Whereas if you just allow everything to be there exactly as it is. So yes, Rafi, I absolutely love Lester's work on that. You know.
I actually, while you've been speaking, I've been releasing constantly.
What frustration with me.
Yeah, just feel the feeling, let them be there, and then, you know, could you just allow it to go? Yes. You know, it's a question. You want to hold on to that? Would you rather hold on to it, or would you rather let it go? Since it came up to leave anyway. Yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Very simple. These things are the simple things. They're always just the most potent, aren't they? They just are.
KISS. Keep it simple, sweetheart.
That's it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And then also that you love Joel Goldsmith, which is another thing that many people in this group are big Joel Goldsmith fans also. And and we do study Joel Goldsmith here as well. So, you know, it just seems like a confluence, you know, all things coming together in a beautiful way. And so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me. It's lovely. It's lovely to meet you all. Very lovely, really. Thank you.
Does anybody have any thoughts or questions to Mandi, or anything you'd like to say? Please do.
I would love if we could start with what is your identity, and start with that as a way of looking at your poetry.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you very much, Dov. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
let us just do this. Let's see. First off, all right. There we go. We
It
can
kind of
do.
reminds me of the question, the only problem we have is the authority problem. Who is the authority? And of course, the ego usurps the authority, and to me, authority and identity is almost the same.
Mm.
Sorry. I guess I had moved quite a don't get dizzy. All right.
It's near the beginning, that one, because there's one or two.
It
and
is
then-
it's the very first one thing here. So I don't know why because I was looking at it yesterday, and I guess I just had gone forward very far.
Oh, there, you've just passed
Okay,
it.
okay. I just passed it. Okay. And for those of you who may or may not know, one of the other books that a lot of us are very involved or working with are the right now The Age of the Heart, Sebastian Blakesley. And so Mandi is a good friend of Sebastian's also, and the Choose Only Love audio books. She's the voice. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's just after this, if you keep going. Yeah, I've
Yes.
done all the I've done all the audio books for Choose Only Love for all the books and I'll be seeing Sebastian in a few weeks because he's coming to Scotland and I'm going there and I'm going to see some other friends of mine, which is Glenn and Muffy. Glenn. Yeah. So they're going to be there and we're going to have just get together for 5 days in Findhorn in Scotland in September.
Oh gosh, going to Findhorn. I love it. I think Joni knows about Findhorn quite a bit. I'm not sure, but seems to me like something she's familiar with or knows about.
Right, yeah.
Irish and
Did you want me to read this out or did you want to read
Sure.
it?
Joni,
Yeah.
did you want to say something?
I
You're
was just-
muted.
Yeah, I was just saying it's the Irish in me, but I'd love to hear her read this. This would be
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Joni. Right. What is your identity if you are not your name? Now gone is the familiar, and nothing looks the same. Your identity is formed before your first birthday, created by all the names for things that you learned to say. But you are not your mind, the beliefs or thoughts, labels, descriptions, all the things you've been taught, all the conditioning that made you believe a separate individual had been conceived. Yet the word individual means undivided and connected to the source where all is provided. But this great truth gets overridden. The conditioned mind keeps the gold well hidden. We need the next page. And your personality is a non-reality to which you've been subscribing by your constant describing of everything you see and hear, creating feelings of mortal fear, because the mind is restless and never still. And this addiction to thinking is what makes you ill, ignoring totally what's in between this present moment, which is never seen when you're so very interested in all the thinking, which just creates more thoughts and sentence linking. But with whom are you having this conversation? There's only you there on investigation, for you are not your mind. This truth is so easy to find. Simply cease for a moment whatever you are doing, and instantly you stop accruing more thoughts, joining up like paper chains. Just less than a second, you can rest free of pains from this continuous narration of your fertile imagination, relentlessly turning like a hamster on a wheel. But just pause for a moment, rest and heal. And so now for a little exercise. Just stop and try this on for size. Imagine you have no memory at all. And at this point, Lynn, I always ask people to just shut their eyes and just try this for a couple of seconds. Imagine you have no memory at all. Thank you. Your name, your life, you cannot recall. The roles you play, like daughter or son, and all the jobs you've ever done, your age, your shape, your nationality, all you've believed as your reality, where you live or who you know, everything. Just let it go. So now what's left without the mental narration? Ah, at last we find silence, our true foundation. This is the kingdom of God, our home. The I am, your pure being, is the only one on the throne. Keep quiet. No matter what the worries or fear, silence underlies all the images that appear. Beyond the mind is an infinite space of this invisible present moment place. Keep quiet inside. Rest and abide. Keep quiet. Be still. Let the silence completely fill. So what is your identity if you are not your name? One is the familiar and nothing looks the same. Keep quiet, no matter what the worries or fear. Silence underlies all the images that appear. Beyond the mind is an infinite space, discovered in the silence of this present moment place. Keep quiet inside, rest and abide. Keep quiet, be still. Let the silence completely fill. Thank you.
And just take a moment and just breathe that in. Anybody have any thoughts or anything they'd like to share?
There's just something that I'd like to ask. I just wondered if everybody found that when we came to that question, imagine you have no memory at all, did your mind go completely blank?
Yes.
You can't get beyond that, you see, can you? So that's really the heart of that kind of question goes on through the book. There's sort of lots of questions that the mind just, it's beyond the mind, it can't answer, you see. So that's really the underlying purpose of the book. So normally if I'm doing a workshop, I read that out. I might take half an hour over that poem and go very slowly. So it's like a contemplation, a long contemplation, you see. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for bearing with me while I read that out. That was very nice to do with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple of inquiry questions that I use quite often that go along with this completely. And one of them, if I'm not who I thinks I am, what am I? And another one is, who am I that uses spiritual practice towards self-realization?
Lovely.
And both of those go along perfectly with this. And both of those quiet the mind, because you don't want to get an answer, because the answer is going to come from the ego mind, and that's going to be wrong, whatever it is. But it really helps quiet. The other thing is I just go to the quiet, because the quiet is the entrance to beingness.
Yes.
I mean, that's the doorway to enlightenment or awakening, or whatever, term you give to it. So thank you for this. This was very reaffirming.
Oh, thank you. I loved what you said. Thank you. I love these questions. You know, anything that it's lovely to be able to just come up and make up. You suddenly get an idea for a question that really quiets the mind. I love those. Yeah. What you said was lovely. Thank
Question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, go ahead and carry on. Joni, go ahead. I have a quiche in the oven. I have to go and check. So
Can I just ask, would you be able to take it off the shared screen
oh, sure,
then
absolutely.
I can
My
see
goodness.
people a bit better, you see.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to look at this anymore.
Thank you.
And as a
There we go.
as a
All right.
reminder, if everybody can mute, there's sometimes an echo. So just want to add that.
Thank you, Joni. I'm muting and I'll be right back.
Okay. I want to, going to silence is something I've only been practicing successfully a little bit in the last year, but maybe 4 years I've been resisting and kind of allergic to it. So I also started in the last month going to learn about TM, which uses a mantra. And for me, it's always about trying to silence that insane voice. It was fun to go see the movie Inside Out too, where, you know, all the little crazy voices in her head, you know. So I wondered what I loved what you said. And for a brief second, I did let go of the identity to have that present moment. But what is your feeling on mantras and to sustain it? It's just this constant letting go of the clouds or the thoughts that keep coming up when I try to be in that silence. Just any advice or any thoughts around it? Or
I'll certainly share my thoughts about it, Joni, and thank you for asking. I was a TM meditator not in the 70s actually, but in the early 80s I started, and I still have it. I still have it as a practice there whenever when I sit down, if there ever is a busy mind, and then I do that. But I think everybody here would probably say the same as just what I'm saying, is that when you start to choose to be silent, that the mind, what it shows you, it's great when you sit down and you have nothing but thoughts, because it's the mind showing you that you can't sit still without thoughts, which is great. It's teaching you and guiding you. So what we do is that we don't even try to push them away. We just allow those thoughts to be there. And then you might think, yeah, but I've just spent 20 minutes and all I've done is thought and thought and thought. That is excellent. This is how it is for all of us when we start. Every person on this earth, starts like that, unless they are on another level and they're in the, I don't know, not going into that. But, for the majority of people, we all start like that. When I started TM, every single tiny little noise annoyed me. And it was really funny. I was next to a church, and they had a bell tower, ding dong, ding dong. But I always thought that the bells that I heard from it just didn't sound quite real. And anyway, this was my first year living next to this church. Anyway, at Christmas time, I'm starting to meditate, and I'm a new meditator. And suddenly, instead of bells coming round down through the bell tower, it was, I don't know if you've heard of Max Bygraves, but there's a singer called Max Bygraves, and it's going, oh, happy Christmas, bell. And I thought, oh my God, what's that? So I said to my husband, what on earth is going on? Now, he'd been a meditator for years, so he got to the point where nothing would faze him, but I was a beginner. So I went into the church, I knew them, and I said, what is that noise? And they showed me this thing that it looked like a cooker, like an oven. And it was a very old-fashioned, record player. And it was piping all this horrible loud carols through the church. And they never had a bell. They piped sort of records of bells, through the... Anyway, my husband was laughing because he said, this is great. This is just what you need, because anyway, so everything used to disturb me. But after a while, I just persevered. the thing is to not worry about it. My meditation teacher was good, and he said the same as I'm just repeating here, really, that he says, don't worry about it. Allow every thought to be exactly as it is. Just don't look into it. This is the thing. Don't get caught in it. Don't get trapped in it. Don't be interested in your thoughts. Don't be curious, because then you get trapped into a spider's web. You see the thoughts, like you might be there thinking, oh my goodness, I forgot to put on the shopping list, da. So you've noticed that thought, and you might think, yeah, but if I don't think that to the end, I might forget it when I come out of meditation. But that doesn't happen either. You just think, I just choose to let it go. You just keep letting go. That's the purpose of meditation. At first, it's not to have a silent mind. That's not its purpose. It's for you to get used to just letting go and letting go. And the true teaching of meditation is that to learn to not get involved or interested in your thoughts. I mean, Mooji always says, you know, the only difference between a sage, a great master, and a so-called ordinary person is that the sage hears thoughts just like an ordinary person, but they're just not interested. So that's it, just not to be interested in them.
That's really helpful, because, you know, I do have those thoughts of, am I doing it right? I need to say my special word, you know, and it goes from remembering the word to a thought, you know, and it's like, oh crap, I forgot my word. Oh, what's that thought? You know, I just go back and forth. And when I get to the void, or the few times where I notice, I'm like, holy crap, I don't, you know, I don't have a thought. It's not a comfortable feeling, you know. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, I don't like this, you know, and then another thought will come in, and then I feel comfortable. So I know that it's going to take practice, but I thought, I mean, I am fascinated by TM. I'm really excited for their extra help and community. But it seems like at my age, I'm just doing everything to not get silent, you know.
Don't worry, it really will change. You might be doing too much, because people get taught in TM to do 20 minutes. Really, you shouldn't do 20 minutes at all. You do 5 minutes. That's it. Leave it alone. If your mind is so busy, just do 5 minutes. Allow it all to be there. Don't worry about it. And when you get to those silent things, I tell you what fear is. Fear and anxiety is nothing to do with what you think it is. It's always to do with the fear of losing your identity. And that's why we try and cling on to things as soon as we get fearful. We might ring a friend, we might have a drink, we might have something. We're scared to death. We don't realize it's that, but that's what it is. It's well, if I stay in this, how will I, get my life back? So we don't worry about that. We've, as Rafi was saying, and we were talking earlier, you feel the fear and allow it to be there. Let it just, even if you shake with it, don't add any more thoughts like, but what's going to happen? Just drop all that and just be with the fear, and it'll run out. You see, the thing is, meditation teaches us we don't have to do anything about anything. So at the beginning, everybody is the same. Am I doing it right? Have I got the mantra right? Everybody, you know. So you're doing a great job, and I'm not being patronizing, Joni. You are doing a great job. You are going through exactly what you should be going through. I think everybody would agree on this call about this, yeah?
I have one more Rafi question then, and I hope I'm not hogging all this up, is a lot of times we do 5 minute in our course studies, we do 5 minute contemplations, but it seems like I'm supposed to be looking for an answer. You know, like, okay, we just read this lesson, we just thought about this thought, and then I'll go into it, have to, you know, see all my things to do lists and all that, but I get worried or frustrated I'm not getting an answer, you know, and it's like, oh, I guess God doesn't talk to me, you know, that kind of thing. You know,
It has to come later often when you're doing the washing up, doesn't it? Sorry, was that question to Rafi? Sorry.
no, his hand is up and I'm ignoring him. I was adding one more question. How did you, you know, the 5 minutes, if I take a question in like a reflection of the lesson,
Yeah.
then I get worried as I'm searching, I don't get something from God or Holy Spirit. I just wondered if you could talk about that.
You can't not get something from God, because all you have to remember is one statement: in him I move and have my being. So you can't be separated from the love of God. Otherwise you couldn't move your arm, you couldn't read your book, you couldn't do anything. That love is a force that is just indescribable and always with you, and it doesn't come in the way that we have it so formally. Like we see something in a book that's a piece of absolute wisdom, but and we know it's wisdom, but it leaves us cold. It's not doing anything. It's not going in. And it doesn't matter. We never worry about that. We're happy that we've read the wisdom. We might really enjoy the sentence at the same time. Like, I don't know, just for God is all. God is all in all, God has multitudinous ideas with which to bless mankind. And we read that and we think, oh, wow, that's so lovely. And then the next thing, you have to plan something and you haven't got a thought in your head and you think, where are these ideas from, God? But all we do is live in this present. So when you're reading that wisdom, you just enjoy it for the moment you're reading it. Don't expect anything or it. Don't look for anything, because you put yourself in the future, you see. So the future, every time you're looking for an answer, you are doing perfectly. I know you think you're not, but you just so are, really, you are. I know it's really difficult because people don't think they are, but you are. You're doing wonderfully. Everything you said is just spot on. I think you're just a miracle.
Gosh, you guys, I love the way you carry on when I leave. Yay. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, Rafi does have his hand up, and I appreciate everybody so much. Rafi, go ahead.
Yeah, just to go back to about all of that thinking and quieting it. What happens is that when you're thinking, you start identifying with the thoughts, thinking that it's you that's doing that. And it's not. And as soon as you stop identifying with the thoughts, you can just step back and look at them and be the witness of them. And then you realize that they aren't what you are, but they're going to continue to make you think that you are the one that's thinking, you are those thoughts, and you're not. Just don't identify with them. Stand back and watch them. And then you're in that area of discernment or discrimination, which is very powerful, that says, I am the all, I am the one, I am beingness, I am the Son of God. However whatever phrase that you use, and you're not those thoughts. So let them ramble on. Let them do what they're going to come and go and come and go and come and go. Dove has a thing that somebody told him. He says, like, you open the door, let them in the front door. Don't stop and have a cup of tea with them. Let them just keep going. And they're just going to run and run and run and run. Identifying with them is what causes the problem. The other thing you were talking about was how do I do this? How do I do that? You're trying to figure it out. And as long as you're trying to figure it out, you're using the mind. And it's the mind that we want to quiet in the first place. So let go of wanting to figure it out. And you can just ask yourself the question, can I let go of wanting to figure this out? Yes. Can I let go of wanting to know what the answer is? Yes. Can I let go of wanting to know what to do about this? Yes. Can I let go of wanting to know anything about anything for just this moment? Because that's all there is. It's just this moment.
Thank you.
And
That's helpful.
and the mind gets quieter. You never answer the question. Just let go. Could I let go of wanting to figure this out? Because if you're doing it, then you're not engaging the mind and keeping it running like that hamster on a wheel that it keeps going and going and going, because that's all it knows how to do. It's a recording and playback machine. It's not a thing. But we kept identifying it as us, with it as us, and that's where it perpetuates itself. But if you don't identify with it, It has no place to go.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rafi. Thank you. And Joni, thank you for posting the guest house. Let me just fix that so we can all see it, because it's kind of teeny tiny, but it's a beautiful poem, and I think is absolutely apropos. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? I'm glad to see Sharon and Karen and Regis, and all you folks that are listening on the radio. I hope you're enjoying this. Why is this? Oh, there it is. It's just tiny in that bigness. And you know, as you were speaking, Rafi, I was just realizing, yeah, that's something that I've really been seeing a lot lately, is that uh I mean, literally just none of this is really happening. These are all just random stories that just just go on. Let me see if I can make this any bigger. Let's see.
Either I'm willing to read it, or if Mandi would read it in her lovely English voice.
Oh no, Joni, you read it. I love this poem. It's just, I love it. I'd love to hear you read it, please.
Thank you. The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. A dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
That is just so lovely. And what does this remind you of? This last something that Dove says all the time: be grateful for your triggers. Because they show you what you need to see. And
he also says, and you gotta laugh.
and you gotta laugh. Exactly. So yeah, wow. Thank you for that. And you know, I love this as well. So yeah, so even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. And that's, I think, what we're talking about when we're saying, when you have this, whatever it is, whatever you feel, whatever comes to you, look at it, go into it, experience it. You know, we're here, you know, this is my thought here, is that we're here to experience the experience that we're experiencing. And I know that's that sounds kind of kooky, but it is. We're here. I'm here to experience what I'm here to experience, because it's what I want to know, what I want to see, how I want to experience myself as a being. And so when when part of the experience comes up and it's something that I don't think is very pleasant, or, I'm not very nice, or, whatever thoughts or opinions I have about myself because of how I act in a certain way, or what I want or what I do. I have to look at that and not judge it, not judge myself for for wanting the experience, for loving the experience, for deepening into the experience, because I think that unless and until I fully experience what I came here to experience, I will keep coming here and coming here and coming here. I will never stop looking. So why not just stop and take it now? Why not just do it now? And that's what I've just been seeing. Wow, it's all coming to me for, I mean, I can't, it's almost like I'm seeing seeing my world in these cubes of the Zoom screen here, that I'm seeing each part of it being singular and not being part of a running story. It's not part of a running trail of anything. Each instant is a singular instant that stands alone and has its own its own being, its own life. And until I recognize that, and that's what we do, it's like, you get a piece of cake, and you sit down, and you get a wonderful piece of cake that you're really enjoying the cake, but after a while you're just eating the cake. At first, when you first taste it, it's the most wonderful thing that you've eaten, but then after a while you're just eating the cake, and then when the cake is gone, you're like, I want more cake, because I really didn't experience the cake when I was eating the cake. So, I got to have more. And this is why the rotund figure of Lynn is, because I keep going back for more cake, because I don't enjoy the cake as I'm eating it the very moment that I'm eating it. I want more. I want more than what is now. And there is nothing more than what is now. And Maureen Muldoon, welcome, 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 friend. It's wonderful to see you.
Hi. I'm being in the is-ness with you, but I might have to be in the outness with you, but I'm here right now.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Enjoying the cake.
enjoying the cake, yeah. And
Mhm.
that's what, eat the cake, taste the biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the cake while you're here, and really, 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 really have the cake. Don't just have the cake and eat it too, I don't know.
Yes, yes,
Mandy
yes,
has
yes.
her hand. Go ahead, Mandy.
I'm really just sort of reiterating what you were saying, because I was thinking about people that sort of spend such a fortune on weddings, and a lot of them spend, I mean, these days, hundreds of thousands on weddings, and then they're in, having to pay it off for the rest of their life. But the thing is, I was thinking, all it is a blink of a day, like 1 second you're before the wedding, then it's the wedding, and then it's after the wedding. It's all a moment, there's all this. It's like, I don't think I have the feeling of looking forward to anything anymore. Like, I can't, people say, are you excited about this? And I can only be excited when I'm there in that moment, so I'm just kind of agreeing with you, really. There's so much looking forward, and I just wanted to mention something as well about thought, is that I remember once when I had a big breakthrough, and I'd had a really bad dream. I don't know if this happens to you, but if you don't get up when you wake up, then if you go back to sleep, sometimes you get a bad dream, and I should have got up when I woke up, but and anyway, I had this dream that my husband, who died many years ago, that I don't know where we were, in a church, and it was somebody else's wedding or something, and we were there, and all the time he had his back to me. Not at any time did he talk to me, and I couldn't catch his eye. I tried to call him, and in the dream I was, of course, very grief-stricken and very sad about this. And when I woke up and started, washing and brushing my teeth, I noticed my thoughts going to the dream and thinking, that I felt so sad, and why wasn't he looking at me? And then I just thought, hang on, I can just give myself permission to just drop all those thoughts. Just those thoughts aren't mine. Now, I'm saying this because this is the hardest thing it was the hardest thing for me to get. Other people tell me it's the hardest thing for them to get. So I'm just saying it. we read and we kind of intellectually know that our thoughts aren't you. I've got a poem there, your thoughts aren't you. But we still believe that our thoughts are us. So let's say we have a judgmental thought about somebody and then we immediately feel terrible. And if we then said, yes, but my thoughts aren't me, then we think we're making an excuse. And how can they not me? Because they've come from me. They've not come from over there. They've come from me. I thought that thought. But it isn't true at all. The truth about thinking is that it's thinking is just moving frequencies of energy that we hear in our language. So a thought will come, then because the mind is always in survival, that's why you always hear negative things, because it's in survival. That survival instinct gets translated into thoughts that are negative. The mind is always negative. It's not that it's positive and negative, it's always negative, because positivity and joy and ease and is-ness comes from the spirit of what we are, the I am presence. But so these thoughts that come, so I'm only talking about the negative ones because that's the mind. We don't have to identify them. So when that was this big thing for me, that when I realized I could just stop thinking it. I could just let it go and not go in that direction. Let's say it was to the right. I don't have to look in that direction. And I was amazed that the minute I decided that these thoughts weren't mine and I dropped it, I had nothing but peace. I mean, I was expecting a trace of sorrow because I'd gone quite deep down the rabbit hole and had a little cry. But the minute that I saw through it and that it wasn't mine, I didn't own it. I didn't manufacture it. It didn't happen that way. It just stopped. There was no trace of it. And then I tried it with everything. Anytime anger came up or judgment or any kind of sadness, I just thought, this is a luxury I can't afford. Because when we listen to these thoughts, we are indulging in a luxury we cannot afford, because it pulls us right down a rabbit hole that we can't get out of. So these thoughts that we have that are ever negative or self-incriminating or depressing, they are nothing to do with us. They aren't us. They haven't come from us. They are just rising frequencies of energy. The minute you choose, I don't have to listen to that, it actually goes away with all traces. There's nothing left. That's, and then you can say, or you could say, right, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to make a cup of tea. I would say that. And then I'll have a look at it again in an hour. Well, you look at it again in an hour and you can hardly find it, or it's run out. I mean, that's just a secondary approach. The first approach is to just say, this isn't anything to do with me. I'm not looking at it. And just see how it does not leave any trace. I mean, it's amazing, because when you've been terribly, terribly upset and you suddenly realize you don't have to be, you can drop it, and then you're not upset anymore. When you first find that out, it's absolutely shattering. It's amazing. It's wonderful, So that's my fourpenneth, as we say in England. That's my own experience. That's all I can say. Thank you.
That was gorgeous. Thank you so much, Mandi. It kind of reminds me, I always say, like bubbles in a glass of champagne. They come from nowhere at the bottom. They're just from nowhere. They bubble up, they effervesce, and you don't see them anymore. Just don't serve them tea. Don't entertain your thoughts. That's it.
Yeah. My first ever website on all this stuff was Bubbles. Exactly what you said, Dov. Just I saw it as I got somebody to create bubbles rising up and popping, and that's it. They're just, you can just let them pop off.
Well, and the fact is that these are not my thoughts. All the thoughts that are out in this dream are dream thoughts. They're thoughts that and they're bits and pieces, and that's, I think, why I'm seeing things in a different kind of way now, because I'm seeing that there is no before and after. There's no before and after. Like even right now, you might say, oh yes, we've been continuously on for all this. No, we haven't. We're here right now. And that's the only place that we are. And there's no before and after. Even and the thoughts that come to me, they're just floating in the ether. I mean, really, honestly, And what the Course of Miracles is calls it an ego thought system. And it's a thought system that is based on all these little pictures of, different things that appear to you, like movies, or like now there's shorts on YouTube, little things, but they just come to you. And exactly that didn't come from me. If I looked at all the thoughts that came into my head and thought that they belonged to me, I would be insane. And we are insane because we think that's my thought. Oh, it is my thought. I used to have a consistent, and this is just something that ran through, my life for some reason, that I would just get a sudden, this is going to sound crazy. I would just get a sudden urge to kick somebody in the head. I would just be nobody for no reason, nothing. I could kick you in the head. I'm thinking this in my mind because I could at the time. I used to, I could kick high and do all kinds of things with my body that don't work anymore. But I can kick you in the head. Where in the world would I could kick you in the head come from? It's not a thought that I would ever think. Not even if I hated you and wanted you dead, would I ever imagine kicking you in the head. That's a little poem. But those were words that came to me. And that was a thought that came to me. And, for years I would just be like, well, there's that kick you in the head thought again. Where did that come from? Still don't know where it comes from. It doesn't matter because it's not my thought. It's just a thought that's there. And, if you look at these thoughts that come up and, recognize, these are just little bits and pieces of stories that, we could put together and make into a cohesive looking thing, but it's not, it just looks cohesive. It really isn't at all. There's no continuity in it. That's getting over this idea that there was something happening before now and there's going to happen something later. And that's why we get an anxiety with our thoughts too, because we start thinking about what happened before or what's going to happen later. And that's when you're not in this moment, you will be anxious. There is no doubt about it. If you are not in this moment, you will be anxious because you're not here. Joni, please go ahead.
One of the things that that cute movie did with when joy, the basic feelings of joy, happiness, sadness, when the girl turns 13, anxiety comes in and they don't know how to behave. They don't know what to do. They're running around looking at each other and just, this anxiety went insane, and they were freaked out by anxiety. And then over time, or a little bit, they eventually helped relax her. The saying Dove talks about, where peace is relax your mind, release your thoughts, and let go. It was there. It was fun the way they were demonstrating how they helped anxiety to do exactly that, because she was making up all kinds of stories about what was going to happen. And I think that's what you're talking about is that where we let it go by relaxing and knowing that it's just the bubbles. And so anyway, if you get a chance to see that cute movie, please do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joni. I just wanted to say what you just said made me realize that the mind is tense. Relax your mind is taking the intensity out. I have always been told by people, you are really intense. And I don't know what that means, but it just came to me. Intense literally is my mind is not relaxed. A relaxed mind doesn't have all those thoughts. Now, the idea of the Course very clearly says they are not your thoughts. They're not your thoughts, which is what everybody has been saying, which is what Lynn said, which is what Mandi said. They're not your thoughts. And then it says, your mind holds only the thoughts you think with God. And, of course, the Course says, well, the thoughts you think with God, and you say, well, what are those thoughts? Of course, that's the ego asking the question. What are those thoughts?
Well, and Maureen always says to question, this is making more sense to me now, that to question, if I can't do whatever or in peace, don't do it. And, that's where the look, wait, and judge not comes from. And what I'm hearing that this practices and isness is such a choice that I get to do, knowing the ego's job will always be survival. And it's not, my job isn't to get rid of it, kill it off or whatever, but to manage it around the calmness, the relaxing, the letting go of whatever bubbles up in the dream. And again, remind me in 5 minutes, but if that's, there's Mandi, here you go.
Well, the only thing that I would say is about the relax the mind, Dov. The mind is never relaxed. The mind, by its very nature, doesn't relax. You can't relax the mind. You're only relaxed when your mind isn't there, when your mind is not present. So I think that you sort of can't do anything. You can only let it. You're absolutely right what you've just repeated back, Joni, because you can only allow everything to be as it is. So if there's blah 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 going on, that you just allow it, because I mean, for a start off, the mind isn't an entity. There's no entity called the mind. So it's just, we have to be so clear about this. Otherwise, we're actually trying to do something that's not possible. So there is no mind. There's only thoughts arising now. And as long as we don't get interested in them, and we just, as soon as we notice we're getting interested, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You might say, oh gosh, I've realized, I've looked back at this afternoon and I've been interested in every thought. Well, then congratulate yourself, because you've noticed. It doesn't matter if it took you the end of the day to notice that you've been locked in thought, but you did notice. So what happens, more and more you will notice, more and more as you do the practice that you're doing, you'll become aware of when you are lost in thought, you see, and then you'll get to a stage that there's no time about when or where. You will get to a stage without a doubt where you can shut your eyes and be at peace with an empty mind in the middle of a busy station anywhere. I can, and it's just training. It's because I was a TM meditator for years. But you can't do anything about the mind. Like Dov was saying, and we were saying, it's just like bubbles. Those bubbles arise now. And they'll just pop by themselves if you don't try and hold on to them. You can't hold on to bubbles anyway, but but you could sort of get millions of bubbles, and then they look like froth, and then they get sticky. You know what I mean? Thoughts get sticky. So the thing is not to worry about it, and don't try and do anything about it. You just allow it. I'm just repeating really what everybody else has said. It's just that, yeah.
Oh, it sounds lovely in a British accent in your bubbly personality.
Oh, I see.
Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. I was thinking, we're coming up. We've been going on for like an hour and 15 minutes or so, which is fine. We have 2 hours. We could go on and on. But I'm wondering, maybe we could just reread the poem and set ourselves up for a contemplation. So and maybe just reread the poem, and I'm not going to ask you, Mandi, unless you volunteer, but but in the way that you would read it if you were reading it for people who
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be absolutely honored and delighted. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to put it back up on the screen then. And also there's some folks came in that didn't hear it in the beginning as well. So
I'd say just before I read it, that rather than say, close your eyes and you have to keep your eyes closed all the time, I would say just close your eyes when any of the words that, you know, any of the questions in the poem naturally make you want to close your eyes to think about it, you see. So I'm just going to go really slowly this time. And I mean, I find it helpful with my eyes closed. Well, not when I'm reading it, of course. Okay. What is your identity? If I can just hear something in the background, which is just, can you hear that at all? Is there anybody?
Oh,
all
now
right, I think I muted every.
Yeah, but now we have to unmute Mandi. Lynn, you're on mute.
I didn't realize I muted Mandi. Mandi, unmute yourself.
That's great. It was just I could hear myself back in the background. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, I'll start again. What is your identity if you are not your name? Now, gone is the familiar, and nothing looks the same. Your identity is formed before your first birthday, created by all the names for things that you learned to say. But you are not your mind, the beliefs or thoughts, labels, descriptions, all the things you've been taught, all the conditioning that made you believe a separate individual has been conceived. Yet the word individual means undivided and connected to the source where all is provided. But this great truth gets overridden. The conditioned mind keeps the gold well hidden, and your personality is a non-reality to which you've been subscribing by your constant describing of everything you see and hear, creating feelings of mortal fear, because the mind is restless and never still. And this addiction to your thinking is what makes you ill, ignoring totally what's in between, this present moment. Which is never seen when you're so very interested in all the thinking, which just creates more thoughts and sentence linking. But with whom are you having this conversation? There's only you there on investigation. For you are not your mind. This truth is so easy to find. Simply cease for a moment whatever you're doing. And instantly you stop accruing more thoughts, joining up like paper chains. Just less than a second. You can rest free of pains from this continuous narration of your fertile imagination, relentlessly turning like a hamster on a wheel. But just pause for a moment. Rest and heal. And so now for a little exercise. Just stop and try this on for size. Imagine you have no memory at all. your name, your life, you cannot recall. The roles you play like daughter or son, and all the jobs you've ever done, your age, your shape, your nationality, all you've believed as your reality, where you live or who you know, everything, just let it go. So now what's left without that mental narration? At last, we find silence, our true foundation. This is the kingdom of God, our home. The I am, your being, is the only one on the throne. Keep quiet. No matter what the worries or fear, silence underlies all the images that appear. Beyond the mind is an infinite space of this invisible present moment place. Keep quiet inside. Rest and abide. Keep quiet. Be still and let the silence completely fill. So what is your identity if you are not your name? Gone is the familiar and nothing looks the same. Keep quiet, no matter what the worries or fear. Silence underlies all the images that appear. Beyond the mind is an infinite space discovered in the silence of this present moment place. Keep quiet inside. Rest and abide. Keep quiet. Be still. Let the silence completely fill.
Thank you so much, Mandi.
I just want to add just one tiny little thing, if I may, Lynn. It's just that because your question, Joni, came after I'd read that poem the first time, and it struck me that it's a good thing just to address is that, let's say you were reading that poem or you'd recorded it or something like it that's telling you to be quiet and everything. So just to remember that you might be thinking, yeah, but my mind's really busy, it's really full. But if you notice, if you really notice that it's just a sort of a kind of a, it's like background noise, isn't it? It's like a fan that's not quite turned off, it's still going round. It's like so that's absolutely fine. We just allow that to be there. We don't think, oh, my mind's not quiet. We just completely allow that, because being quiet is allowing it. Being quiet is not always having silence and an empty mind. Being quiet is just allowing whatever is happening to just arise. That's the quietness that underlies the quietness, you see. So it doesn't matter, you know. So I hope you didn't mind me just addressing that to you. It's just because it was such a good question you asked before.
And it's amazing you said that, because you've connected a dot for me, because I live in a busy area and I can do this kind of short meditation in a waiting room, at a stoplight, or here when traffic, and I never give meaning or spend time on any of that. but my thoughts, I was starting to get caught in. So I can apply what you just said by remembering that it's just that busy bubbles and not attach any meaning. So thank you. That is helpful.
Great, thank you. And thank you for letting me read it out. And Lynn and Dawn are just just loving being with all you lovely, like-minded, beautiful people, and anybody that's watching, you know, on YouTube. It's just a huge blessing to everybody, really, and lots of love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. And just wanted to let folks know also that Mandy is, besides being a author and artist, she, you know, just does some beautiful things. She also does beautiful music as well. And I've been listening and playing your music, which are based on, I'm guessing on the Choose Only Love, the books by Sebastian. So it's lovely how we all come together, and I'm just so grateful for everyone here. So
Lynn,
yes,
will you put her links in the YouTube play video so we can connect with her?
we'll do that. Yeah, for sure. We'll for sure do that. And you know, I'm not saying that Mandy will be here every week, because I'm not, I never, this is not a plan or an expectation in any way at all. It just happened that, you know, this just, I just was like flooded with this whole idea of, "Oh, let's do this now." And I got so excited about it. I just wanted to call her and say, "Oh, let's do this now." But, you know, but it was Sunday. And so, not that that really matters a bit, but, I'm so grateful that people came, and that Mandy came for sure. But next week we'll meet again, and we'll go over another poem, and we'll, contemplate, you know, how does that work in my life? What does that do? You know, for me, that's when we're talking about the 5 minutes with the lessons. I'm always like spending that time thinking about the lesson, and, you know, where am I doing this, or what, you know, things come up in my mind, like, oh yeah, I was doing this, or I'm thinking this way, or whatever. So I'm just looking at my thoughts during that time. Is all I'm doing, is looking at my thoughts, and deciding whether or not I wanted to believe them. Anyway. Thanks you all so much. I love you all, and look forward to maybe seeing you all next week. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the Zoom, or stop the